3 years after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the U.S. led the UN Security Council to call for peace, but without blaming Moscow for starting the war. It was one of two UN votes where the U.S. and Russia were on the same side. The move came after President Trump expressed optimism around bringing the conflict to an end while meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron at the White House yesterday. But this morning, the fighting in Ukraine continues, with Russia launching 7 missiles and more than 200 drones in its latest aerial attack overnight. Joining us now for more on this, from Kyiv, is CBS News foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab. Imtiaz, how is the U.S. decision to side with Russia at the UN being received in Ukraine, where you are?
Yeah, hey, Errol, good to be with you. And in a pretty extraordinary moment, it has to be said. And you really only have to look at one of the Ukrainian delegates at the United Nations who quite literally had her head in her hands as that vote, or rather that U.S. move was made in the UN. And I think it really sums up the feeling here in Ukraine as well when it comes to just this sense of whiplash so many people here are feeling about how just quickly the relationship between these two countries have changed. You know, whatever the personal enmity that, Zelensky may have with President Trump, many Ukrainians tell us that they hope that they can overcome that, because for them, this is an existential crisis, and that, again, many of people telling us here, they need the U.S. Errol.
You know, it was fascinating to watch U.S. President Trump with French President Emmanuel Macron in the White House discussing things in front of the press. And Trump backed this Macron idea of sending European peacekeepers in Ukraine. How likely would Russia be in agreeing to that?
Well, strangely, we've heard signals that Russia may possibly welcome such a thing. Now, whether that's true or not, or just the kind of rhetoric we hear coming out of Moscow, especially at a time when they want this relationship that's unfolding with President Trump, which clearly has become quite positive, to continue. But I think when we look at the Russian strategy throughout this war, it has always been based on one singular thing, which is their belief that the West and indeed Europe will not be able to withstand or outlast Russia's determination to seize Ukraine, or at least some Ukrainian territory. And so the thought is that many believe that Russia is sort of saying what they need to say in this moment, but their long-term goal is try to take as much of Ukraine as they can. Errol.
And Imtiaz, as we mentioned, Russia launched missiles and drones over Ukraine last night in its latest aerial attack. We see some rusty, dusty tanks behind you. What is the latest on the fighting?
Yeah, we're here in central Kyiv, and these tanks have really become a symbol, if you will, of the sacrifice of so many Ukrainians over the past 3 years. These are tanks that were damaged in the fighting. And you know, when we hear about these major attacks overnight, these huge drone and missile attacks, it's just a reminder for that everyday Ukrainians, this war is ongoing, and it is a war that many Ukrainians are paying the ultimate price for. Errol.
All right, Imtiaz Tyab reporting from Kyiv. Thank you very much.